Hi, this is Nicholas Yock, a registered migration agent from Pathway to Oz. And today I'm going to talk to you about the pathway to permanent residency for an electrician. Look, this pathway is very similar for if you're onshore or offshore, but what I'm going to discuss is for applicants who are already qualified as an electrician. If you're not already qualified as an electrician and you would like to study it in Australia, feel free to contact Pathway to Oz and we'll sort you out with that. Look, the very first step to apply for permanent residency is what's called a skill assessment, okay? So in a skill assessment, basically the Australian government, they don't know what education from all over the world and what work experience will make someone meet the Australian standards for that occupation. So they give this requirement, or they give the skill assessment to an organisation called Trades Recognition Australia. And Trades Recognition Australia will look at your education and they'll look at your work experience and they'll make sure you meet the Australian standards. Fortunately, for licensed trades, such as an electrician, the skill assessment is also what's required to obtain your provisional licence in most states or territories. As electricians are licensed trades in Australia, you would need to go down what's called the Offshore Skills Assessment Pathway or process, or OSAP pathway. You'd follow this even if you're onshore or offshore. I'll put a link to the website below for TRA and also a link to their full guidelines so you can review that in detail. But essentially there's two steps to the OSAP pathway. The first is a paper-based assessment, so just making sure your documentation is correct. And then the next is a technical or practical assessment. In the paper-based assessment, you'll need to provide things like, evidence of identification, evidence of your qualifications, transcripts of what you've learned, apprenticeship contracts, pay slips, tax assessments, letters of reference, that sort of stuff. You must also be able to demonstrate that you have, if you've got the formal qualification and training, you've got at least 4 years of full-time work experience, or if you don't have any formal qualifications, at least 6 years of work experience. Please note, if you don't have any formal qualifications, it may be a little bit more difficult to provide. On top of this, you must also have worked for in your occupation for at least 12 months within the last 3 years. So 4 years of work experience, full-time, and at least 1 year within the last 3 years. So you can't have been an electrician, 6 years ago, doesn't work. Once you have had that first step approved, the paper-based assessment approved, you'll then look to book in for the technical or practical assessment. And so obviously with this, they're going to text that your theory's on point and you know what's going on, and also give you a practical assessment to make sure you know what you're doing as an electrician. So you'll need to demonstrate your skills and experience, and there'll be some tests for you to do. So most applicants will be able to do this over a couple of days, usually on a weekend. There are specific dates and times available for this. So in most major cities in Australia, it might be every couple of months or every month. In other cities around the world, it could be once every 6 months. So once you have completed the technical assessment and you get all approved, you'll then get what's called your offshore technical skills record, which is basically your skill assessment. You can use this to apply for your provisional license to most states and territories. And you can also use this to potentially look at applying for the different permanent work visa options. Now, when looking to apply for different permanent visas, there's only really 2 permanent work visa pathways. The General Skilled Migration Pathway, which has the Skilled Independent State Nominated or Regional Nominated Visa, or the Employer Sponsored Pathway, which would actually involve going on the Temporary Employer Sponsored Visa, obtaining your full license, and then moving to the Permanent Employer Sponsored Visa. So I've got videos on the General Skilled Migration, so the State Nominated or Regional Nominated, and the Employer Sponsored visas. So check those videos out, which go through the process in detail, but you'd basically go down and apply for one of those visas. Look, I hope you found this information somewhat useful. Please note it's general in nature, so for a full review of your circumstances, feel free to book in a consultation with Pathway to Oz. Thank you.